Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Selection of secretary for today's meeting. I think we have Scott Stesky, who has graciously volunteered.
Awesome. Glad to do it.
All righty. Approval of the meeting agenda. Approval of the meeting agenda. Do I have a motion?
The motion to approve the agenda for the meeting.
I second that motion.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Agenda approved. Okay, that first and only item of business is the discussion on the tackle football provider. The first order of business will be a ratification of the research that has been done prior to this meeting, and I'm segue to Jim to explain that process.
Yeah. Have the discussion. Members of the advisory board, thank you. My name is Ken Gerard. I don't know that I've had the pleasure of meeting all of you. I've certainly met some of you and had some interaction with some of you as part of my functions as the City of Milton attorney. But let me sort of tell you why I'm even here. Some of you may be wondering why I'm even here, but I'll tell you why I'm here. My understanding is that there have been a few issues raised with respect to some recusals and some ethics issues involving this recommendation by the advisory board. Of course, the advisory board is a recommending entity. That's one of the things that it does, is makes recommendations to the city council as one of its functions. So all of this has sort of been brought to me with respect to some questions that have been raised, and so I kind of want to tell you my background. I lecture a lot about ethics, know a lot about the Milton Ethics Code, and I think I can comfortably do that, and then give you some guidance, right? One of the things you should expect from your city attorney is some practical guidance. So that's what I hope to do today. Let me tell you what I'm not going to do today. What I don't want to do is I don't want to get into the specifics of any fact patterns with respect to why any of you may have chosen to recuse. Candidly, given the timeline we're on, there's just not enough time, I don't think, to get into the specifics for whatever reason. And again, I hope that they're good reasons. I'm sure that they are. Some of you have made determinations that you want to recuse from your vote with respect to the recommendations coming out of this advisory board. That's great. I do hope that maybe in the future, if you have some concerns with respect to your affiliation or your interaction on a particular issue, that we can speak maybe beforehand, because I am happy to hear a fact pattern and guide you, as I do all of my clients, with respect to issues of ethical propriety to act. It's a big deal. We have an ethics ordinance for a reason, and the reason, of course, is to make sure that all of the decisions coming out of both the council and including any, and when I say inferior tribunals, that just simply means you're not the council. Any inferior tribunals are the product of good, objective, detached, neutral decision making. That's the point of almost any ethics issue. So let me give you just some real quick baseline elements with respect to ethics. There's two primary ethical issues. Number one is financial. If you, in your hat of as being on this board or a city council member or anybody, has the likelihood of making money or financial remuneration with respect to the actions you take in your official capacity, that's a no-brainer. You have to recuse every time. That's the obvious ethical conflict. You cannot make a self-interested vote to the extent that your product of your official action may result in you making money with respect to that vote. Okay? There's another one, and of course it's set forth in the Milton Ethics Code as well, and it's more of an appearance of impropriety, or it's more, do you believe that your detached and neutral decision making is impacted? Are you going to make money off the decision? No, not necessarily, but because of your affiliation or relationship with various components of the decision making process, you feel like your independence of judgment is marginalized. Everybody understand the distinction? One's purely financial, one is a little more vague. And candidly, I work with city officials and county officials and other officials that I represent, because candidly, Milton's Ethics Code looks a lot like any other ethics code that I deal with in all the jurisdictions I work in. It's pretty much the same, and I'll try to help you with those decisions. Now, having said all that, let me give you one more ground rule with respect to ethics. pure financial decision, more of an appearance of conflict, which is not necessarily financial, but your objectivity is impacted. Once you recuse, you're out. Okay, let me explain what I mean by that. The law is very clear, as is the Milton Ethics Code, that once you make the decision to recuse, your ability to recommend, lobby, cajole, influence, interact, whatever you may want to do, vote, heaven forbid, that's gone. You can't do any of those things. And that's basically the law recognizing that if you've got a conflict of interest and the only thing you don't do is vote, a lot of the decision making and the lobbying and the debating, candidly, is not just the vote. It's all the things that go into that, including the discussion. The law simply recognizes that you can have an impact on the decision making process even if you're not voting on it. Everybody understand? Once you're out, you're out. And the law anticipates, number one, you announce your intent to recuse at the earliest stage when you believe a conflict exists. And number two, you have to announce it out loud why you have a conflict, and then you have to get out and stay on. Okay? So with that sort of background, what I understand with respect to this issue involving the recommendation involving football is that there have been two individuals that have announced their inclination to recuse. Okay, I don't need to get into specifics. I'm just telling you that's what I've been advised of. I've also been advised that these individuals may have been a part of the, I guess, a subcommittee that actually put together some fact-finding or some recommendations. And it's also my understanding that, at least as part of the board, when there were some actual motions made with respect to recommendations, these individuals may have recused, but they did participate in the discussion leading up to the vote. Again, my purpose is not to come here and say, oh my God, this is horrific. My purpose is to come here and say, if that's in fact the truth, if that's what occurred, which I believe it probably did, then we need to do sort of a mulligan. We need to start over. It's not because I care one way or the other what your recommendation is. Candidly, you don't look at me and see a football player, all right? So the reality is that's not my concern. My concern is to make sure that whatever the recommendation is coming out of this board is the best recommendation that it can be, free from any concern. That is my only concern. So given that sort of short background, I understand that there has now been they've taken whatever the data was. There may have been some data that was almost in the spreadsheet format that was supposed to be some facts with respect to the various two teams, as it were, and that has, in fact, that information has been provided to those two teams, and they've sort of spot checked it and maybe modified it a little bit. And Jim, is it your understanding that they have now come back and said, this spreadsheet is a good spreadsheet, and this is in fact something we believe the facts are correct in here?
Yes, that is correct. I have worked using the criteria that have been established. The criteria was then provided with the data that had been collected already. It was turned over to both organizations, the NFL, YFL, and the now NAFL, formerly AYFA program. Both organizations had a responsible representative send me emails indicating that the data that is now reflected on this chart is correct, and they have verified that we now have accurate data on this chart. And we have their confirmation in writing.
If that's in fact the case, and Jim has indicated that it is, then the first direction I have given to Jim was that the first thing that needs to occur is that this board needs to ratify that piece of information. I hope you all have had an opportunity to look at it. Everybody's okay? They have? All right. I hope you've had an opportunity.
Need a copy. I've printed out extra copies.
And I don't want to get ahead of you. I mean, if you all need time to look at it or say, my heavens, I have not had a chance, please stop me. But if that's, in fact, everybody's comfortable with what has been provided, then that needs to be ratified. And again, with the expectation that if there has been a previous recusal, that recusal, given the time consideration of whether that recusal needs to be honored.
I don't need that.
May I ask again, without, again, I don't want to get into the specifics, but Mr. Dooley, have you recused previously?
I have.
Thank you. And Mr. Hill, you have recused?
Yes, sir.
And so you're going to honor those recusals this evening?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
All right. Then, Jim, without further ado, or forgive me, Mr. Chairman, whoever is leading the meeting, that's the next step as far as I see.
Okay. Dave, are you still reviewing or?
No.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions regarding this document? Okay, so with that, do I have a motion to ratify the spreadsheet?
Motion to ratify the spreadsheet, Ms.
Second motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the
What was the vote count?
vote count.
So you raise your hand.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yep.
5.
All right. Okay, now at this time, I'd like to open up the floor to public comment from both parties, and due to the constraint that we have with the 6 o'clock council meeting, we have to limit comments to 10 minutes per group.
Per side.
So,
And to help with that, Mr. Chairman, either party can have one person speak for 10 minutes, or multiple people speak for a combined 10 minutes, but the limit's 10 minutes.
Right.
Should you, as a group, decide that you are willing to listen for more time, you would have to vote to approve additional time and give that same amount of time to the other party.
okay, great. So, first I have to ask: is the timer, is that working up there?
I'm
Or you got it?
the timer here.
You got it. Great. Okay. So first, for the NFL Play 60 group
NFL youth football.
or youth football group.
And, yes.
Yeah, that's great. State your. Oh, we know you. Well, go ahead and say your name and address. It's just the protocol we have to do. So.
Does that work? Can everybody hear me? All right, my name is Matt Dawson, 1530 Hamiota Ridge, Milton, Georgia, 30004. So before I start, I think it's great. There's it's obviously there's a lot of passion about this, but I want to make sure that everybody remembers what we're talking about are 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids, and I think it's important to keep that in mind as we go through this whole thing. Okay, just to make sure. All right, so the first thing I want to do, and again, my goal here is to talk about our program, what we do, and what we're doing with our program, kind of what we bring to the table. So the first thing, obviously, is look at the mission of the NFL youth football. Again, our goal is really to build the whole kid, body, mind, spirit. So everything I'm talking about in the next 10 minutes is really going to be focused on that, and that's something that I hope that you keep in mind as I talk through our program and what we're trying to do. But again, what we're trying to do is build strong kids, strong families, and strong communities. First thing I want to talk about is just, again, our kind of organization. We're a 501c3 organization. We've had that designation for over 15 years. Our main board of directors includes Tim Lester, me, Natalie Lester. It also includes, this is our volunteer advisory board. I'm not going to read all the names, but you can kind of see the various people that we have. And I know one thing that came up in previous meetings was around the organizational structure, and it's actually been great that we've had some additional times to think about how we can be better organized as an organization to support growth in this area. So all these folks that are on this list are confirmed members of our advisory board and involved with the program to really help us get to the point where we can grow beyond where we currently are. I know that was something that was important. And one thing I kind of want to bring up at this point is, again, we're a small organization, and I'll get to real numbers in a minute. But I think one thing that, again, as you all as a Park and Rec board kind of can think about is a parallel between us and the idea of Hopewell Baseball. 1995, Hopewell Baseball had 125 kids in it. Wills Park, over 1,000. Okay. Webb Bridge, probably over 400 or 500 kids. If we were in 1995 and you as a board were trying to make a recommendation about which, the city of Milton has to pick a park pick a provider for baseball for the city of Milton. Okay, similar very situation. Hopewell baseball, very small, needed to grow. There's already established lots of big things, lots of big organizations there. I think if we're going based on numbers alone, Hopewell baseball would not have been chosen. But Hopewell baseball is a very successful thing. That's actually why we're here, because Bell Memorial Park is very successful. That's why the city has spent millions of dollars to expand it. Okay, so I think it's very, very important to think about, again, let's not just get caught up in numbers. Let's think about the program. What's the goal of the program, and how are we going to build the program and grow the program? Because it's more than just about who's bigger. If you look at our program, basically where we are right now, we're looking at rec level program at the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade levels for our tackle program. What that means is every kid that shows up will play. Okay? There's no tryouts. If we have multiple teams, there's going to be a draft. That's a definition of a recreational program. Okay? We will not do select teams unless A, we have numbers, and B, we have the skill level to support that. Okay? Again, it's important to remember, kids develop at different ages and at different stages. It's just like in school. We have to make sure that we're providing programming that meets the kids where they are, not where we hope they'll be. Okay? So for us, we really do want to focus on the kid level, where the kids are, and that's at the rec level. But if there's enough kids, and if we're able to, and the skills dictate that, we could potentially go to a select. But it's not an either-or question. It's a both-and. Okay? And that's important. But at our heart, we are a rec program. And obviously, we also have the flag program. I'm not going to get into that. But we are the current provider of the flag football program for the city of Milton. And that's through ages K through 12. All right. Just some of our coaches. Again, just some guys. You can kind of see who we have. Some of our guys. This isn't everybody, but this is some of our guys. We have a lot of experience, a lot of NFL experience.
5 minutes, Mr. Dawson.
Okay, thank you. A lot of experience. One of the things I think you got to think about is the way we utilize our coaches is it's not just about who they're coaching on Saturday. It's about we want to leverage their experience for every single kid in the program. So the way that we work our programming, the way we work our practice, is that all the coaches are involved with all the teams. It's not just about who do I focus on, who am I coaching on Saturday, because we want to leverage that experience for every single kid. Because again, we are about developing the whole program for all the kids. We're about maximizing cohesion, not divisiveness. It's not about what high school am I in, okay? It's about how can we build these kids at the elementary level to be better football players. We don't know what they're going to be. There's no way we can say at 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, my kid's a quarterback, he's going to play quarterback in high school. It's impossible. So there's no reason for us to try to structure our whole program around where kids are at 3rd grade, other than how are we building their fundamentals to make them better football players, because that's what we want to be about. In terms of safety, again, all this stuff is on there. I think one thing I want to kind of bring up is this idea of the guardian caps. This is something that we started actually last year as part of the North Metro Football League, and now that recommendation has been made for every team in the North Metro to adopt that. The guardian cap just goes over top of the helmet, reduces impact by over 30%, again to help limit the impact and kind of decrease concussions. Let's skip through this. All right, I think, again, I want to make sure that we're clear about what we're talking about. This is kind of game day space, okay? This is where we currently stand. 2 turf fields. This is where AYFA plays their games on game day. This is where we play, Milton High School, okay? But let's think about practice. Again, where's AYFA practicing? They have the same 2 fields, plus, because they're already the preferred provider for the city of Alpharetta, they have access to Wills Park and North Park. And again, it's important to remember that, I'll get to numbers in a minute, but when there were 2 times, 3 times as many kids in the program, this space was adequate. And it goes back multiple years. This is where we practice. We have 30 yards of grass in front of Milton High School field. In front of Milton High School for all of our programming, for the tackle programming, for the flag programs. So just to kind of put that all in perspective, and this is, I'm a math person, so that's why we did this. But the idea here is that if we're going to compare apples to apples, what are we talking about? In general, in order to achieve the same ratio of field per athlete, we would have to actually decrease the number of kids in our program by at least 24 participants. On the opposite end, to have the same amount of space restriction that we have, AYFA would have to have over 700 kids in their program. They don't
2
have
minutes.
that. What? 2 minutes? Okay, sorry. Got to rush. Okay. Here's a couple things to think about. Trends. So this data comes from, the AYFA data comes from Alpharetta Parks and Rec meeting minutes. This chart goes back from, I think, fall of 2007. Could actually go back further. What you see is a fairly significant trend over the past, is that 8 years? You can go back further. You see it's a very downward trend. It's not a blip. It's a trend. Okay? This is something to really think about. From 2010 to 2014, there's been a decrease of over 450 participants in AYFA. Okay? That's fact. Doesn't change. With our program, again, we started small. We've doubled our numbers in only 2 years, and we continue to see growth in that way. I'm just going to skip through this because what I want to get to, I think, is, again, what it's about. It's about our kids. Okay? This is what we're talking about. This is why we're all here. This is why we've spent all this time doing this. We're about providing an environment for our kids to grow as tackle football players. And we think we have a very strong program, but we need space to grow. That's what it comes down to. We can utilize the space. We know we're growing, but we need the space to grow, and we need an opportunity to do that. AYFA, they've got resources, they've got field space, they've got a great program. But we think providing alternatives is actually a good thing. And providing competition makes both programs much stronger. And that's what we're asking. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Chairman, there's 6 seconds left if anyone else wants to speak.
I guess. 6 seconds. All right. Okay, so
Now, we might have
for AYFA,
NAFL
or NAFL.
and AFL.
Yes, NAFL.
Do you want to ask anybody else to speak on the issue? Do you want to ask anybody else to speak on the issue? It's not part of the partisan.
Yeah, you can ask.
Because we didn't get a comment card at the beginning like we would have.
Oh. But then, yeah, you can ask for that, and then you have to decide if there's 6 seconds left. You have to decide as a group if you want to permit someone to continue to speak on something. Okay. So, yeah, you can ask. Ready?
Yeah. Hey, Bill Weaver, 1675 Evers Edge Drive. Thanks again for having us. I just want to give everybody really a quick update on some of the rebranding discussions that we've been having. We keep, talking about going from AYFA, and now we're in AFL, and want to talk a little bit about what that means. And then I'd like to invite up one of our advisory board members for a few minutes to speak as well. And then there is one recognition, too, that I wanted to make regarding numbers and declining football numbers. That is true. Our numbers have declined over the past several years. And one of the things that we do know, and this comes out of a national study, numbers are down across the board in football all over the country. I talked to presidents of other leagues, and they're experiencing the same thing. And won't go into all the details, but kids are specializing early these days, unfortunately. And you have a lot of kids that used to play football and baseball that are now playing baseball, or now playing lacrosse, or now just playing football. Baseball numbers are down, and quite frankly, numbers across the board are down. There's only one growing sport in the entire country in the youth, which is rather surprising. We also have declining numbers because we jettisoned a couple of programs. The numbers that were shown before, that trend started when we moved away from Division I football, and we had some of our teams go to Forsyth. And then we've also seen a significant decrease in hundreds of kids in the 6th through the 8th grade as our feeder programs have grown in this community. And that really kind of drives us to some of the structural changes that we're making as a league. We've seen feeder programs at the middle school really grow with the development of the Georgia Middle School Athletic Association, and that's what really governs official feeder football in the state of Georgia. And so we are at this point now creating an alignment with other like organizations around the city, where we've got really an equal number of kids between our high schools that we filter into, and that is Alpharetta, Cambridge, and Milton. And so in conversations with the feeder presidents of those programs, we are going to align our program with those districts, and then leverage those districts to then separate our teams in our league. The advantage that gives us is there's a couple of other leagues in the state of Georgia that are very successfully doing the same thing, and they see a lot of great benefit out of it. One of the biggest ones is Cobb Football League. They have over 100 teams in their league, and they play kindergarten through 6th, through 5th. We will continue to play 2nd grade through 5th grade tackle, and we will, among others, be partnering with Cobb Football League to create our both regular season and playoff schedules this year. We're very excited about that. That's an organization that we've been involved with for a long time. They're part of our Miracle League Bowl every year, as well as last season we kicked off our opening season games with Cobb Football League. So we've got a great relationship that we're starting there. Relative to feeder, I did want to make one clarification. There was a press release by the city of Alpharetta that came out sometime in the last week or more that expressed that we were the official youth feeder program of the high schools that we're in. There really isn't such a thing, although we have great relationships with all of the presidents and board members of those youth or of those junior feeder programs. GMSAA is the one that actually governs feeder. So we are not and cannot call ourselves official feeder football programs, unless, of course, we wanted to join the Georgia Middle School Athletic Association. So behind me here is the front page of our new website. And we've been excited about launching this. We'll actually have an official announcement that will go out this week, pointing people to that. But as you can see right there, we've got a new brand where we got an identity specialist, a marketing person that got involved with us to help build that and put together a website that I think is easy
5 minutes, Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Jim. That is easy to get around, and I think does a much better job of expressing what we're doing as an organization. The registration engine associated with it is very powerful, and I think it's going to help provide a better experience for our members as they come to the website and sign up for football. So we're really excited about our new look and feel, and we'll be blending that into everything that we're doing leading up into the football season this year. So with that said, I would like to introduce somebody to the board who's been very involved in our program for the last 13 years. And, you know, as Matt spoke, this is about kids, and none of us ever forget this, and we don't spend this much time. Certainly I don't, for myself and my own sense of being. This is about what I believe is the most important program in our community, and that's youth football. And I'm excited to partner with a gentleman that has brought a lot of value and a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience to our program to talk about his experience with AYFA, now NAFL. And that's Buddy Curry. Buddy is the master trainer for USA Football. He's the one that helped certify all of our coaches in heads-up tackling through the USA Football certification program. If you don't know Buddy, he's a former All-Pro linebacker with the Atlanta Falcons, had a tremendous career there, and has become a great friend and a longtime partner of ours. And I just wanted him to come up and kind of express a little bit about his experience with the history of our league. Buddy?
As Bill said, I've been dealing with AYFA for the past...
Buddy, can you read your name and address into the record, please?
Okay. Buddy Curry, 3616 Bogan Springs Drive, Beaufort, Georgia, 30519. Okay. I've been dealing with AYFA for the past 13 years, and had a chance to go all over the Southeast providing character-based youth football camps and clinics. We've done over 200 in the past 13 years. We also are a contractor with the Atlanta Falcons that want to spread the word of heads-up football and providing youth safety, because there is a problem and there's a challenge with the number of kids that are participating. But just my experiences with AYFA is that two things I'll speak to. First is safety. You know, when you deal with dozens of programs all across the Southeast, you see what the different programs are doing. I would describe the AYFA program as very innovative. They have
Mr. Curry, 2 minutes. 2 minutes left.
Okay. I would. They have their own player safety coach in each team. They are very active in promoting safety. And the other part is leadership. Leadership. I see these guys here every Saturday on the field, and making sure that the programs are run correctly and run right. And I think it's more about the heart. You look at the leadership, and it trickles down. And so that's why I joined them as a kind of associate this past year. So that's my experience.
Thank you. Okay, we have minute 17 left, if anybody...
And 6 seconds for the other side. So,
Oh, and 6 seconds for the other side. If anybody would like to make any more comments? Okay, with that, I think we'll close out public comment. Okay. All right, we'll open up the discussion board. Comments?
It doesn't appear as though much of the information has changed substantially.
Jim, I have a question for you.
yes, sir.
So in the program overview, it talks to the total numbers, and we've had a lot of discussions, a lot of meetings. Maybe for clarity, can you remind us how many of the numbers we're looking at are Milton residents versus all others, so that we've got some?
Which line item referring
So
to?
number 3, where we quote total number of participants.
The total participants for NAFL, including their flag, their cheer, and their tackle, according to as reported by the city of Alpharetta, was 409 participants, of which they GIS researched to verify 198 participants were city of Milton.
Okay.
The numbers for the Newfound Life Youth Football League We have the reported records on the flag program because they're an official provider, and we have the volunteered information for the TACO program as they were not our official program provider. That came to 89 total players in the fall of 2014, and of those, 62 were reported as Milton residents.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
So it came out during the discussion, I'll just throw it out for clarification. So when we created these criteria early on to make a fair evaluation side by side, there's a lot of facts match up, and in fact it matches up even more so now than it did earlier. To the extent that NFL Play 60 is mentioned in both, to me, this is a school program. This is not a factor related to our decision about who is our recreation provider, right? Because it's a relationship, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but this is a relationship that the organizations have with the school for either during or after school activities, and aren't really part of what we're trying to manage as our decision in front of us.
To my best understanding, yes, the NFL Play 60 programs are programs that are being implemented by multiple groups in schools. It is not a program that we are looking to form a partnership with either party for the program of NFL Play 60.
Right. Okay.
Do you have anything else, Scott?
I think that covers it.
Okay. Do I have a motion to recommend from the board?
I'll make the motion to recommend the selection of North Atlanta Football League as the recreation provider for the city of Milton.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? All right, so we got.
All opposed?
All opposed? Okay, so motion has passed, and we've put together our recommendation
Okay.
for the city council.
Jim, can you, I just need to know the vote count on that.
Yes, the vote count was 4 in favor and 1 opposed.
Just-
All right. Yes, so without any other unfinished business, do you have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
All right, I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.
No opposed?